I believe you're like me and you want a habitable earth for yourself, for your children, for your descendants, collateral descendants, and hopefully for all people around the world. But we are heading for a global catastrophe for all humankind, the likes of which has never been experienced before in all human history. I'm asking you to please give me a hand to stop this nightmarish future from happening.
Oh, the handiwork of God!
Isn't God's sacred creation awe-inspiring, magnificent, and extraordinary? It took God 13.8 billion years to create this land that the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota call the lands that are bad to travel through. In those 13.8 billion years, He also created us living souls. And what have we done with this sacred earth? We have ushered in the 6th Great Extinction Event. If you haven't heard of the 6th Great Extinction Event before, you'll be flabbergasted. We have turned the ocean into a deadly plastic soup. We have warmed the planet enough to already have caused the extinction of some species. We have created catastrophic climate change. All of these things are going to get worse and worse and worse unless we do something now. I will delineate the catastrophes we are facing. I will tell you what we can do about it. I will share with you how I achieved oneness with God. I can help some of you become enlightened and be one with the Creator. I will tell you how children will lead us. After the children see the perilous position we have put them in, and with the backing of their elders, together we can stop our race towards the collapse of civilization.
Millions of species face extinction. In the Earth's long history, it has experienced 5 great extinction events before. These events caused at least 75% of all species to go extinct. Now we have entered the 6th Great Extinction Event. This event is caused by humans, or as scientists call it, anthropogenic changes and alterations to the entire environment that could drive to extinction 30% of the world's species by 2050. In the 5th Great Extinction Event, dinosaurs became extinct. That was 65 million years ago. This catastrophic worldwide event means we have created a biological annihilation of wildlife and plants. We have ushered in an assault on the very foundation of human civilization. We have caused the deaths of billions of populations of birds, reptiles, amphibians, and marine life. In 1800, there were 26 million elephants on the African continent. Now there are 40,000. 100 are killed a day. Buffalo were the most numerous large mammals to ever exist on the face of the earth. Once there were 60 million buffalo roaming the Great Plains of America. We very nearly drove them to extinction. One man, Scotty Phillips, saved the buffalo from extinction. There were only 74 head left at the time. The Sioux lost their lifeblood. We have overpopulated the earth. Many of us overconsume. We have defiled and desecrated God's creation. We have decimated the habitat of many millions of species. Coral reefs provide food, shelter, and other resources for 1 million species or more. Hundreds of millions of people rely on coral reefs for essential nutrition. We are causing the loss of finite natural resources, such as fresh water, arable land, and fossil fuels. Since 1978, over 289,000 square miles, or 750,000 square kilometers of Amazon rainforest have been destroyed. Aldous Huxley predicted in 1958 that democracy is threatened due to overpopulation. As it stands now, the world's population is over 7.3 billion people. According to UN predictions, the population will reach 9.7 billion by 2050 and over 11 billion by 2100. We cannot allow this to happen. From 1990 to 2010, agriculturalists claimed 1.5 million square kilometers of primate habitat. That is an area 3 times the size of France. 87% of primate species face extinction in Madagascar. along with 73% in Asia. This is our opportunity to greatly reduce the threats facing animals and other species. We must start making huge conservation efforts and raise worldwide awareness of our predicament. Make this your calling, to preserve a habitable earth for future generations. Although extinction is a natural phenomena, it used to occur at the background rate of about 1 to 5 species a year. Scientists estimate we are now losing species at least 1,000 times the background rate. That is over 100,000 species a year, and it's going to get worse and worse unless we educate Americans and people in every corner of the world of our catastrophic situation. We must now teach these facts to the older children in our schools. Most plastic reaches the ocean from people dumping their garbage in the rivers all over the earth. If I drop this plastic bag into Rapid Creek, it joins the Cheyenne River, which joins the Missouri River, which joins the Mississippi River, which flows into the ocean. That is 1,482 miles from here, yet this bag could reach the ocean. I love God's sea creatures, especially whales, porpoises, sea turtles, fish, coral reefs, and other species. Over 100 million sea animals die each year because of plastics in our oceans. Thousands of marine species will almost certainly go extinct in our oceans by 2100. Annually, 8 million metric tons of plastics enters our oceans. Join that with 150 million metric tons of plastic that currently circulate in the marine environment. The ocean was created by God and is sacred, and we have defiled it. Untold thousands of marine animals such as whales, dolphins, seals, and sea turtles are killed by eating plastic, are becoming entangled in plastic nets that were lost or discarded. There are over 15 trillion individual pieces of plastic floating the sea globally. There is an estimated 640,000 tons of fishing gear lost or discarded in the ocean each year. Dolphins who eat plastic die a slow and painful death from poisons in the plastic. Dolphins are called the geniuses of the ocean. They have often shown altruistic behavior by saving humans from sharks and rescuing those shipwrecked. At present rates, plastic will outweigh all the fish in the sea by 2050. Seabirds are feeding plastic to their chicks because it looks like food to them. They die. Plastic kills more than 1 million seabirds annually. Nearly every seabird on Earth is eating plastic now. 90% of seabirds that are found dead have plastic trash in their stomachs. In 1960, plastic was found in the stomachs of fewer than 5% of seabirds. But by 1980, it had jumped to 80%. Global plastic production doubles every 11 years. Seabirds are almost certainly doomed. The Great Pacific Gyre, our Great Pacific Garbage Patch, is about 1.6 million square kilometers in size. That is more than twice the size of Texas. A gyre is a large system of rotating ocean currents. There are 4 other huge gyres in our ocean teeming with plastic and other garbage. These gyres control our ocean's currents around the world. These gyres have moved plastic to the remotest places on Earth. Plastic is found on all the world's beaches. At least 2/3 of the Earth's fish stock are suffering from plastic ingestion, which contaminates their flesh. China contributes the highest share of mismanaged plastic waste to the ocean. That is around 28% of the global total. That is followed by 10% from Indonesia and 6% from both the Philippines and Vietnam. Would you stop this if you could? I'll tell you how you can do it. You can create a system to connect worldwide democracies and other governments and most of the world's population. Each of you can do your part as much as humanly possible to educate people so they know what must be done. You'll be doing God's work, or humankind's. It is the only answer. I'd now like to talk to you about global warming and climate change. This pine beetle epidemic covers 448,000 acres of the Black Hills National Forest. Climate change made it so bad because we now don't get enough 20-degree below zero days in a row to kill the beetles. Melting in Greenland and Antarctica is occurring much faster than they previously thought. 2018 was the Earth's 4th warmest year on record. The oceans had their warmest year on record. This warming can spell disaster for coastal communities in the form of sea level rise and more frequent and intense natural disasters such as flooding, hurricanes, and typhoons. Since 2001, we've seen 18 of the 19 warmest years ever. If worldwide CO2 emissions aren't curbed dramatically and soon, Earth might be unrecognizable by the year 2100. Changes in ocean circulation are likely. Oceans absorb more than 1/3 of the CO2 in the atmosphere, which causes them to become more acid. We have already seen the effects of higher acidity and warming on bleached coral reefs and dying marine life. By the end of 2012, Greenland was losing more than 450 billion tons of ice a year. In the 1980s, Antarctica lost 40 billions of tons of ice annually. In the last decade, that number has jumped to an average 250 billion tons. Storms are rainier than they were in the past because warmer air holds more moisture, which causes much more severe flooding. 500-year floods are now commonplace. On a business-as-usual trajectory, scientists found the mean global temperature rise probably will be at least 6 degrees centigrade by 2100. If that happens, it will lead to a sea level rise of over 30 feet, putting the homes of more than 600 million people underwater. Overall, tens of millions of people live where even a 3-foot rise in sea levels will swamp their homes and cities. No one is exactly sure how fast western Antarctica and Greenland will melt. Because of global warming, coral reefs are on a trajectory towards extinction. If we don't do anything, yearly bleaching events will almost certainly kill them off. 1 million species rely on coral reefs to survive. A new study shows that glaciers are now losing 369 billion tons of snow and ice each year. The world's glaciers are shrinking 5 times faster than they were in the 1960s. The influence of glaciers on sea level rise is bigger than we thought. The intensity, frequency, destruction, and duration of hurricanes and typhoons have all increased since the early 1980s. We will have more intense droughts and heat waves. We'll have more and longer damaging wildfire seasons. Bear Butte, or as the Sioux called it, Bear Mountain, is where medicine men put vision seekers or one crying for visions. These initiates go 3 to 4 days without food or water so they can share their visions with their tribes. For those of you who profess to believe in Yahweh or God or Grandfather, you'll want to know why I dare speak with certitude. In 1969, in the hotel room in Thailand, the Holy Ghost descended on me, picked me up, and threw me clear across the room onto my back in the exact center of the bed. He very, very slowly started taking the breath from my body. I thought, I didn't know God took people this way, but then why not? He is God. After all the breath was gone from my lungs, I thought, here I go. He very slowly started to let the breath back into my lungs. In a still, small voice, he said, someday you'll heal with your hands. I rolled off my bed and cried and cried and cried. I was in the presence of God. He revealed His will for me. In 1971, He led me to Bethlehem Cave to what I thought was to meditate. He had me make a torch out of pamphlets and led me deep into the cave. I was just ready to snuff it out and meditate when He took the spirit from the torch, thus extinguishing it. He wouldn't let me light it again. After 3½ days and nights, I knew I was dying of thirst. I knew when I laid my head down to sleep, I wouldn't wake up again. As I started to lay my head down towards the cave floor, I said, into your hands I commend my spirit. The instant my head touched the floor, the lights came on in the cave. I was in the hands of God. He led me to a life of service. He had me open a halfway house for alcoholics. He had me become a chemical dependency counselor. He had me study at Edgar Cayce's The Miracle Man's Association for Research and Enlightenment. He then led me to Ross Peterson's, the new Edgar Cayce's Michigan Omnistic Research and Enlightenment. And I learned how to become a trans psychic. trance, my mind could travel to other minds and bodies anywhere, and I could give readings. I now knew for sure that all minds are connected. God's mind is everywhere. He had me appointed director of my county's drug and alcohol task force. He had me become a fireman and an EMT intermediate. He made me volunteer director at the ambulance service. He had me volunteer at the Salvation Army hanging clothes. He made me into a researcher. I researched science as I kept seeking God. He taught me that scientists reveal the nature of God through research and experimentation. I learned that the Big Bang was misnamed because there were no ears to hear it. It was God creating. I researched climate change and then the 6th Great Extinction Event and the trashing of the oceans with plastic and other pollutants. After 50 years of seeking to do God's will and praying, fasting, once for 24 days and searching, He judged me to be worthy. I became enlightened and one with Him. Now my service is to tell those of you who are doing His work how to usher in the new age and keep us from destroying all flesh. Those who help with His work will be filled with the power of the Holy Ghost to keep the earth habitable for future generations. We are temples of the living God. The young people of the world must be taught the condition the earth is in. With the help of their parents, grandparents, teachers, and other obedient souls, they will soon govern the whole earth. It is in God you live, move, and have your being. How can it be otherwise when God is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient? Einstein said, anyone who is seriously involved in the pursuit of science becomes convinced that a spirit is manifested in the laws of the universe, vastly superior to that of man. Please share this video with everyone around the world. We are now at war with powers and principalities. It is a spiritual battle. Those empowered by the Holy Ghost will prevail. Those that don't believe in God, don't worry. You can do your part. God would rather have atheists, secularists, and agnostics to do His work rather than those who profess to believe in Him and don't follow His laws. I'm Robert Ackerman, and I'm asking you for your help to organize a worldwide demonstration on September 12th, 2020 to stop or mitigate climate change, plastics in our oceans, and the 6th Great Extinction Event. 30% of mammals are projected to go extinct by 2050. We're running out of time to address these crises. Please use all the social media available to you to help make this worldwide demonstration happen. Please start groups called Let's Save the Planet Together and do everything you can in the meantime to help with these problems. If you have the means, please open offices with computer networking experts to help spread around the world the urgent need for the September 12th, 2020 demonstrations. The Paris Climate Agreement isn't strong enough. Let's keep the planet habitable for Homo sapiens and all of God's other creatures.